You're now listening to the smooth sounds of life after death. I'm your host, the Marcus Garrett. Let's get started with this week's episode. And this is the drop. October is Financial Planning Month, and I'm here with Chelsea Ransom-Cooper, a certified financial planner who specializes in empowering women to build wealth through equity. As a managing partner at Zenith Wealth Partners, Chelsea and her team guide clients through the many financial challenges they face as women with ambitious goals. Welcome to the show, Chelsea.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here, and also for Financial Planning Month. How fitting.
I'm glad you could make it. It all went down actually outside the DMs this time. I saw a tweet that you dropped where you were highlighting Black certified financial planners. I guess we can start there. And this was many months before financial planning, folks. You representing year round. So what inspired that tweet, and give us a little bit of background?
So it's really interesting. I feel like our industry, a lot of us tend to know each other, but I was reading a lot of, those like top 10 financial advisors, top 50 financial advisors that you can Google anytime you want to find somebody. And it was always the same people. And I remember seeing individuals kind of address it and ask some questions about, hey, like, why isn't this list a bit more diverse? And I saw in the comments that one of the responses was, well, we just don't know any Black women financial planners. And there aren't that many, which is kind of the comment that, we hear a lot when it comes to diversity. So I think for me, being a certified financial planner, having so many friends that I've met at the Association of African American Financial Advisor Conference, meeting at the Diversity Summit and other forums as well, it was just so alarming to me to even see a scenario where people could not find other planners of color, specifically women. So I actually remember reading the tweets, and then I went to bed, and then I woke up the next morning because I was a little frustrated. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to make a list of all of my friends and all the people, the exceptional people that I've met in this industry, who, in my opinion, do not get the recognition or praise or just awareness that they deserve. So I truly just went through people I knew. I'd say 90% of that list are people I know pretty personally or well. And I remember it just kind of kept spiraling, and people kept saying like, oh, like, keep going. And then other people started sending me their friends and their names, just making sure I wasn't forgetting people. And it really just kind of turned into a really long list of individuals who are really excited to honestly get the recognition that maybe they haven't received before. And actually quite a few people mentioned that they actually got some really great clients from it too. So I thought it was an awesome thing. The other side, though, is after I put it out, then a lot of people started asking me to like formally make lists as like another service. And I was like, listen, I'm not, I have a daytime job. I just want strong, impactful Black women who are doing this work every day, who maybe aren't on social media just because they're doing the work, to get the awareness that they deserve.
And for those of you looking for the non-list serve, but list that is available, that is on your show notes right now. It'll probably be on your screen if you're watching on YouTube. And you've actually just inspired an idea, I'll go ahead and say it out loud as a point of accountability. I'll make a video to get that as a slideshow on probably YouTube as well, but I'll get a link in the show notes where y'all can find that. So a little bit of accountability for me as well. Won't be a listserv, and it will not be actively maintained, but feel free to add yourselves at any time, you and your friends, for Financial Planning Month and year round. Gonna transition a little bit here to the Life After Death segment. Then I've got some questions for you, and I've got a little thing that I'm going to open up to the fans about. The award-winning Life After Death segment is where guests and I share motivational money stories about how to turn your dreams into real dollars. The Life After Death segment's made possible thanks to our partners like Jeremy Snyder from Money Like a Millionaire, which you can find in your show notes and a direct link in your description. And now, back to the show. So for this week's motivational money story, I was sitting over here preparing for this episode. I'm an auditor by trade. I'm a recovering auditor, as I said. I just got out. They brought me back in, then I got out again. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do like this detailed analysis for financial planning month. And I was like searching the top questions to ask your financial planner. I was like, man, that's boring. so I was like, I really want to focus on telling your story. Already went through your bio here. We went through the Black Women CFPs, and I'll start with what inspired you, Chelsea, to become a certified financial planner. And I'm looking here actually now. Was recognized as the Association of African American Financial Advisors 50 under 50. So already getting
Yes.
accolades. What inspired you?
Absolutely. And I have to say, it did start off an audit for me as well. So I actually, when I graduated college, I went into public accounting as an auditor for a bit. And it was mainly just because the university that I went to didn't have a lot of like personal financial planning. It was really kind of corporate finance and public accounting. And I loved numbers. I always had a passion for it. I just didn't know that there was a way that I could use my love of numbers to actually help people. And it wasn't until I was working at that profession and a lot of my friends knew that I did have a knack with numbers. And they asked me, hey, what should I do with my 401k? What should I do with my student loans? And I started to really think about what it would look like to help them. And I was like, hey guys, I'll figure this out for us, how we can handle this, and then I'll give you some advice. And that's what I just did ad hoc. But it started to become more and more fun. And I found myself listening to finance podcasts, reading, and just staying on top of everything in the personal finance realm more than my day job because it just was more exciting to me and it brought me more joy. And I started to wonder, okay, what would it look like if I actually did this as a profession? Now, you'll probably notice in this profession, there's different types of financial advisors. So it did take me a while to realize where my sweet spot was going to be. Was it going to be working at an insurance company, working at a big wirehouse or broker dealer, some household names that we know there? Or was it going to be in more of a boutique area like the registered investment advisor space or like financial coaching? So I actually talked to all those different firms and I realized that I really wanted to get compensated just by giving advice. I didn't want to have to sell products. I didn't want to have to accept any commissions or anything. I just wanted people to honestly pay me because I was giving high quality advice. But I knew that I still had a lot to learn. So what I decided to do was I worked at a high net worth wealth management and asset management firm because I really wanted to understand how did they build wealth. And when I say they, a lot of the clients I was working with at that time had a minimum. So the minimum threshold was typically about $1 to $2 million of investable assets, going up to about 15 million. So I wanted to learn how these individuals built wealth because I just didn't necessarily come from wealth. So it was a really, really great opportunity where I got my CFP, I passed my series exams, and I was able to be an advisor to those individuals, understanding what strategies that they did to build their wealth and set them up for their success and their families. And the most interesting thing to me is they very rarely did anything like crazy or unique or any bold strategies. Like they kept it simple, they kept it boring, and it really worked in their favor for that long-term growth. At that time, I started to also become more confident in my abilities. And I was doing speaking events and, at a certain point that minimum is great, but it didn't really align with my mission and my values and the people who inspired me to be in the profession in the first place. So I met with a friend of mine, Jason Ray, who had a similar mission where he was really involved in the investment management space, studying for a CFA. And we said, how could we build something together with my experience as a CFP, him in the investment management space, to not have to worry about that whole minimum aspect, but still provide that same level of high quality advice that we were providing at our own wealth management firms that we were at the time. And that's really how Zenith came to be. Jason started the firm a year before I joined, and then I came on to partner with him to really create a comprehensive financial planning and discretionary advisory firm. So we've been in business for 3 years and about 2 weeks, just because we just celebrated the 3-year anniversary about 2 weeks ago. And it's been a really exciting term where we've been able to serve individuals, institutions, nonprofits on the asset management side, but then also helping create comprehensive financial plans just to meet people where they are. So we have different tiers just to try and help everyone out. So we don't even have to worry about that minimum question anymore.
You said I guess these, I personally see like either a black figure with a question mark on it. I mean, like a anonymous figure. It could be a black
Hmm.
figure as well, depending where your head is. But I typically see old white guy, blue. I'm thinking like
Right?
Mad Men, kind of, gray haired fox. You said they did it simple and boring. What were some of those simple and boring themes that you saw?
Yeah, great question. So specifically, I'd say maxing out those 401ks, making sure they take advantage of those contributions, staying at companies that offered a pension, to make sure that they were getting the maximum pension distributions as well. Really leaning on low cost insurance products so that they could maximize the amount that they could contribute to higher accumulating assets, such as, putting money into investment accounts or real estate properties, anything that like that, where it could potentially have a bit of a higher return. They were able to maximize that as well. The other aspects I would say is they always, not always, but for the most part, they were really good at prioritizing saving first. Is something that I noticed as well. Is it was never a question where I had to tell them, oh, you need to save this much, or oh, you need to contribute this. It was automatically a given. The question was just more so of like, I felt like I had to let them know, like, hey, it's okay to spend sometimes, which was definitely a different conversation when you're later in life, right? A retiree, like you've spent your whole life saving and investing and working. The conversation was more around how are you going to enjoy kind of these last 20 to 30 years of your life, and how do you want to run it up?
um, I guess the question I'll ask there, if you have an answer, is where did they learn? I feel like a lot of people don't
Mhm,
come to the conversation thinking saving first. Uh,
mhm.
any thoughts there?
So it's interesting also that everyone's parents are different, right? Depending, and I can't say everyone had the same upbringing, but it was really interesting to me that they had conversations. And specifically for me, since I was one of the younger advisors at that point, I would meet with their kids. So the fact that their kids were sometimes seniors in high school, freshmen, sophomores, and they're saying, hey, come in and talk to Chelsea so you can learn about finances is kind of unheard of. And I really think opportunities like that set them up for success. So then when they're passing on their inheritance, it's not even a question, number one, of who the advisor is, but also number two, you already know kind of the strategies and what you should be doing because you've been meeting with Chelsea for 4 years or 10 years, kind of talking about, hey, this inheritance is coming, or hey, these are the small things you should be doing with your account. So when this windfall comes, you're prepared.
And I had another financial planner on the show, Don't Retire, Graduate author. In there, he had about 24 questions for a certified financial planner. And I pulled those out. I'll get you, those of you in the show notes who want to see all 24 of those questions. But one that really stuck out to me is what is the advisor's planning or investment philosophy? So, what would be your investment philosophy for an advisor to the client perspective?
Yeah, so specifically, I'll say at Zenith, we do really take a active but still passive approach. So we use ETFs and stocks. We don't use mutual funds mainly just because of the fees, but we strongly believe that investing for impact actually will provide a higher return. Number one on society, but also number two on your portfolios as well. And we actually have the data to back it up. We've looked at models and portfolios that don't kind of have that impact lens or that environmental social governance lens in regard to screening securities like stocks and ETFs versus ones that do. And consistently, we've been noticing trends that companies that are actually intentional about making positive change actually do have better returns. Not always, but majority of the time is something that we actually notice in the data. So it is something that is important as part of our investment philosophy. That our clients understand, like that is how we will invest their funds, and it will align with it. But honestly, the returns uh, for any of our clients who may not have been interested in it, the returns speak for themselves, and then usually it's not something that is even questioned